The Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold and silver for over 20 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. For more information, find them on the web at milesfranklin.com or give them a call at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote.
Carrie Lutz from the Financial Survival Network is back on the line today. Thank you so much for being here, Carrie.
Hey, Elijah. It's always a pleasure. We got such great feedback from our last interview that we really wanted to talk to you again.
Well, great. So the last time we talked to you, you were predicting some sort of kind of a dollar collapse that you think is going to happen in the near future. What events since our last time we talked kind of reinforced that idea or you think maybe it'll happen sooner or later?
As any prognosticator, I hesitate to give exact dates for events, and I don't want to make people think that it's going to happen imminently, that this collapse is going to occur. This is part of a long-term trend, a 100-year trend since the founding of the Federal Reserve. But what we do see is Europe in dire straits. Nothing's changed. The debt is still on the books of every financial institution in the world. So are the derivatives. And what you're seeing now is massive downgrades for most of the major so-called too big to fail banks. And this is a progression. This is a series of events that's going to occur that will eventually end with the dollar collapsing and with fiat currency going the way of the buggy whip and the CD-ROM and so many other things that seemed great at the time, but turned out to be surpassed by greater innovations.
So on the topic of Europe, with Spain needing a bailout now, what effects do you think this will have on the United States?
Well, you have to understand that the U.S. needs to keep the current system going indefinitely, because how else can we wind up giving all this stuff away to people that we can't afford, printing money, and simply continuing down the road to serfdom? All of it, you might not see an immediate effect, but every time there's a bailout, every time this country or that country is looking like it's going to hit the rocks, that is affecting confidence in the entire worldwide economic system in the West and in the East too, because they're dependent upon it in Asia. And eventually faith will be lost, and then people will begin looking for another system, and it can't continue on indefinitely, but it's just another dent in the armor of so-called impenetrability of the existing monetary system. It's really that simple.
So in your latest newsletter, you said there's only one antidote to the current global depression, and that's a gold-backed system. What did you mean by that?
Sure. The ability to create unlimited numbers of currency units, whether they're dollars, yuan, euros, you name it, and that's what they're all doing, is fundamentally corrosive to free markets and capitalism. A fixed money supply whereby countries are pretty much forbidden to undertake debt and they're forced to live within their means would cause a lot of interim suffering. But in the long run, being on that system would create predictability, the ability for businesses to plan, and the ability for individuals to save. It would encourage savings and true interest rates, getting the government out of manipulating interest rates and setting them to carry out policy objectives is one of the major benefits of a monetary-based system. But understand that the government is always looking to break those systems, because government is all about giving favors to the favored few and taxing the rest of us to pay for those favors. So I guess, long-winded answer, a gold-backed monetary system with without the ability to pile on debt would have major benefits to the entire world economy and get us all back to true wealth production rather than so-called crony capitalism, which isn't capitalism at all.
Yeah, under a gold standard, you can't tax people by the hidden tax of inflation. So, kind of on the inflation topic, you've reported on Ben Bernanke's recent statement on QE3. Do you personally believe that we'll see another round of QE coming soon?
Well, I don't believe that it's ever really stopped. We've had QE forever. Quantitative easing, if you don't know, is simply printing money. And in this case, they print the money and they buy bonds with it, bailing out the banks for their poorly thought out mortgage-backed securities, for government debt, whatever. And it enables them to keep long-term rates way down, which penalizes savers and rewards the unthrifty, the debtors. It's going on. Whether they announce it formally or not, eventually the market catches on and everybody knows that there's no free lunch here and inflation must be the result. And it's happening now. We see it at the gas pump, even though gas prices are down a little bit now because commodities have gone down a bit, but everywhere you look, you see signs of inflation, except in housing prices and perhaps automobiles that aren't selling well.
To protect yourself from this inflation, you, I think, advocate buying precious metals. What is your take on what has been happening to the precious metals recently? They've been going down quite a bit. What is your take on that?
It all is relative to when you bought them. If you started buying them like I did in 1999 and in 2009, so far ahead, but I don't view the metals necessarily based on dollar values because those are manipulated because obviously the government wants to keep metal prices down to give the appearance that your only real alternative for savings, for investing, is paper-based investments. So this is just another form of financial repression by keeping metals prices down. However, their ability to do this indefinitely is limited, as we can see, because in 1999 they were manipulating, perhaps not as much. The price of gold was $282. It went down to $250 per ounce. It was up to close to $2,000 last summer. They've managed to bang it down to the $1,600 level, but these types of machinations are of limited utility and they won't last indefinitely. So metals investing, in the final analysis, is the ultimate protection of your wealth, and you might actually see, especially in silver, large real rates of return as well in the form of increased purchasing power of the metals.
Okay, great. Before we leave you, is there any other last things you'd like to add that we didn't already talk about?
Yeah, well, only that what you're doing is really invaluable because people need to be hearing this message of what's really taking place, what the government is really trying to do, and who's benefiting following the money. And a lot of voices are needed for this because younger people aren't necessarily going to believe me, but they might believe you. So all I would ask is keep up the good work. Go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com regularly. You can hear a lot of interviews that I've done with other people involved in this area, as well as our interviews in the past, and a lot of up-to-the-minute economic news that's happening, and it's happening so quickly now. Nobody knows the exact timetable here, but there is a timetable, and the sooner that you protect at least a portion of your wealth in the metals, the better off you're going to feel, and the better off you're going to be when the eventual economic reset takes place.
So besides the financialsurvivalnetwork.com, are there any other places on the internet that you'd like our viewers to look at?
Oh, sure. There's Chris Dwayne's site, don't-tread-on.me. There's Zero Hedge, which to really know what's going on with these banks, you need to read Zero Hedge. There's a lot of them, and we aggregate dozens of them every single day. And, you just need to look and keep your eyes open, because when we're getting close to that magical moment where the global economic system is reset, there's going to be some distinct clues and signs. It's not just going to happen in a vacuum. It's going to happen with ample warning for those who are savvy enough to pick up on those signs.
Once again, thank you so much for being here, Kerry, and I hope we can have you on again sometime.
Be my pleasure, and I wish you the best of luck, Elijah. You're doing a great service here.
Yep. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.